She thought she could wreck my marriage from across the country and walk away untouched. 18 months of lies later, I became her worst nightmare. One envelope, one screenshot, one glorious meltdown at a time. I didn't just get even, I rewrote the whole damn game.
And it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy.
Before this, I thought the worst betrayal in life was being forgotten. I was wrong. The worst is being remembered by a husband who knew your name, your face, your loyalty, and still chose someone else. I was slicing lemons in the kitchen when my life changed. It was one of those crisp Saturday mornings where everything felt unnecessarily perfect. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon waffles. Sunlight spilled across the marble counters. My phone buzzed, a gentle ping from my iCloud, syncing an old backup. Funny how life lets you feel peaceful right before it guts you. I opened it, expecting to find some forgotten photos, or maybe a contact I hadn't transferred. Instead, I found messages, hundreds of them, nestled between weekly groceries and reminder dentist app, were a thread of text from a contact saved as Carly Art Supplies. Cute, real cute. Carly, my ass. I clicked, and my eyes were flooded by her digital perfume. Long-winded flirts, moonlight fantasies, and language that would have made a sailor blush. And Nicholas, my husband of 25 years, was right there, responding like a horny teenager. They called each other my angel in firestorm. They talked about art, wine, and the quiet kind of sex that happens behind closed curtains in hotels far from home. I dropped the knife. It clattered against the granite, and the sound snapped me out of my daze. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip every painting off the wall, every photo of our wedding in Italy, every reminder that I had believed in us. But instead, I sat. I read. I devoured every message like poison I willingly swallowed. Because you don't stop reading the car crash halfway through. 18 months. They'd carried on their little novella of lust for a year and a half. 2 in-person meetings, one in New York during a business conference, and another in Denver, conveniently timed when I was flying to visit our son in London. She lived in Deloria Springs, California. Vanessa Whitmore, an art curator, of course. She sounded like someone who wore silk scarves to brunch and spoke in brushstroke metaphors. The messages ended 9 months ago. Just stopped. Apparently the affair had burned out before I even discovered it. But knowing it was over didn't help, because I hadn't been given the dignity of knowing it happened. Nicholas was still in bed when I confronted him. I walked into the room, held up my phone, and said, "Who's Vanessa?" He blinked, disoriented. His hair was tousled and his mouth opened as if about to lie. Until he saw the screen. Silence. "I ended it," he said, eyes pleading. "Emilia, I swear, it meant nothing. It was stupid. I was stupid." "Oh, honey," I whispered. "You don't get to define what it meant anymore." We screamed. We wept. He admitted everything, mostly because the texts said it all. He said he was lonely, that our marriage had become too routine, that he felt seen with her. I made him sleep in the guest room for 3 months. I didn't cry in front of him. I didn't give him that. I cried in the closet, in the car, once in a grocery aisle next to a box of pancake mix. Betrayal sneaks up in the stupidest places. But what haunted me most wasn't his betrayal. It was hers. She knew I existed. She wasn't some naive girl misled by a silver-tongued man. No, Vanessa followed his rules to protect his marriage. She was a willing accomplice to my humiliation. and she wasn't going to get away with it. 2 weeks after I discovered the affair, I called her. She picked up after 3 rings. "Vanessa," I said, calm and icy. "This is Emilia, Nicholas's wife." There was a pause. Then she said, I think you're confused." "No, sweetie, I was married." "You were the one confused." I asked her everything, straight up. She denied most of it, claimed they were just friends, that her daughters knew, that her husband was aware and didn't care. Lie after lie, her voice a symphony of smugness. I hung up shaking, but not broken. 2 months passed. I gave her time, a chance to come clean. She didn't. So I picked up my pen, the kind used for wedding invitations, and wrote letters. To her husband Martin, to her 2 adult daughters, Isabel and Fiona. The letters were elegant, simple, no profanity, no rage, just truth, screenshots, timelines, and facts. I even used headers. It was a presentation of the life she had led behind their backs. Before I mailed them, I texted her, "Vanessa, just a courtesy note. The truth's about to arrive in their mailboxes." She replied, "They already know. You're wasting your time." Then this should be a fun surprise. A week later, Hiroshima hit Deloria Springs. Word got back to me through the small world grapevine that Isabel had gone silent. Fiona had blocked her. Martin didn't respond. Vanessa's sisters, who once gushed over her curated gallery showings, stopped calling. But I wasn't done. 6 months later, my phone gave me another gift. iCloud messages that Nicholas had deleted, but not permanently. I found the confirmation of their physical intimacy. Not just love notes, not just longing. They slept together in Denver. It was all there. The hotel, the timeline. Her message. "Last night was electric. I've never felt that way in my life." Electric? Okay, Tesla. I hatched my next move. I bought a burner phone, texted her, pretending to be Nicholas. She fell right in. She poured her soul out to him. About me, about how I'd ruined everything, about how she couldn't take the shame. And you know what? I felt alive. For the first time in months, I felt something other than broken. I crafted one final masterpiece, a letter telling her I knew about the physical cheating. I didn't send it immediately. I let it marinate in her conscience. Then 6 weeks later, I mailed screenshots to her daughters. The nasty stuff, the sexts, the hotel confirmations, the filth she wrote in candlelight. The response? Dead silence. Then one final text from Fiona to Nicholas. "We are aware. Don't contact us again." I couldn't block their numbers fast enough. I wanted them to feel what it was like to be blindsided. Vanessa tried reaching Nicholas again. Emails, voicemails, even sent a letter. I intercepted every single one. When that didn't work, she found him on LinkedIn. LinkedIn of all places. The professional haven of resumes and networking. She begged for a response. He finally replied, "Do what you need to do. I'm done." Boom. My therapist, because yes, I got one, once asked me, "Do you think this is helping you heal?" "No," I said, "but it's helping her hurt. And right now, that's enough." And just when I thought I was done, fate gave me one last delicious detail. Vanessa called me from work one afternoon. I didn't answer, but the area code gave her away. Now I had her office number. And her daughter's wedding was coming up 2 hours from my house. I had the location, the date, the full event planner's layout. Vanessa had no idea. I waited. I waited until 2 weeks before the big day. Then I called her office. "Hello, may I speak to Vanessa Whitmore? She's in a meeting." "No problem. Could you leave her a message?" "Certainly. Please tell her Emilia didn't get her wedding invitation, but she'll be seeing everyone at Edgewater Hall. Also, Vanessa should probably stop sleeping with married men. Edgewater Hall looked like something out of a bridal magazine. Glass chandeliers, polished marble floors, an archway dripping in fresh roses. Guests fluttered about like bees in tulle and chiffon, smiling and sipping champagne, blissfully unaware that a thunderstorm had RSVP'd to the wedding. The thunderstorm was me. I arrived in a navy blue gown, sleek and understated, with just the right amount of chill in my smile. I didn't sneak in. I walked in like I belonged there, nodding politely to ushers and pretending to scroll through my phone as I found my seat near the back. I had no invitation. I had no right. And yet, I had every reason to be there. Vanessa was floating around in a mauve satin mother of the bride dress, her hair pinned up, fake pearls swinging as she smiled at guests she probably hated. Her daughter Isabella looked stunning in white lace, veil trailing behind her like innocence on a leash. And poor Martin, her husband, stood at the groom's side, stoic, gray at the temples, pretending like nothing had ever shattered behind his eyes. I watched them, quiet and still, sipping wine I didn't pay for. Vanessa hadn't seen me yet, but she would. 5 minutes before the ceremony started, I stood up and glided to the ladies' room. From my clutch, I pulled out a stack of glossy envelopes, 30 to be exact. Inside each one was a curated gift, a single page printout of text messages between Vanessa and my husband, hotel receipts, a selfie she had sent him in a hotel bed wearing nothing but pearls and a smirk. On each envelope, the name of a guest, their table number, my handwriting, elegant and sharp. I had gotten the seating chart from the planner's assistant on Instagram, a little flattery, a fake event inquiry, and boom, access to the whole event map. I walked from table to table, slipping an envelope under each plate like a wedding favor from hell. A few people noticed but said nothing. Some assumed I was part of the staff. One older woman looked at me curiously, but I simply smiled and whispered, "Special delivery for family members." By the time the ceremony music began, the room was littered with truth bombs. I took my seat and waited. Isabel walked down the aisle, radiant and glowing. Everyone rose, smiling. A string quartet played. The groom cried. And just behind the happy chaos, Vanessa stood tall and proud until her sister at table 3 opened her envelope. I saw it happen in real time, eyes wide, mouth dropping open. She leaned over to her husband, showed him the paper. Then table 5, then table 9. A murmur began to rise, low at first, like a distant swarm of wasps. Vanessa turned her head slightly, confusion creeping into her botoxed features. Then she saw me, sitting at the back, calm, crossed legs, hands folded. I raised my glass and gave her a nod. Her face crumbled. Not shock, not fear, recognition. She bolted from her row like a woman on fire, rushing toward the back of the hall, heels clacking like gunshots. "You crazy bitch," she hissed at me, low and venomous. "Vanessa," I said sweetly. "Lovely to see you. You've aged beautifully since Denver." Her hand raised. She wanted to slap me. Oh, how badly she wanted it. But too many eyes were watching. Too many whispers now buzzing through the air like broken wedding bells. "What have you done?" She spat, chest heaving. I told the truth. Something you clearly struggle with. "You ruined my daughter's wedding." I leaned in and whispered, "No, darling, you did. I just delivered the invitation." Chaos erupted behind us. People were leaving their seats. Someone yelled, Isabel was trying to make sense of it all as her groom whispered in her ear. Martin stood frozen, face pale as rice paper. Vanessa turned to go damage control the situation, but I wasn't finished. Oh, and Vanessa! I called out loud enough for 3 rows to hear. She turned, eyes murderous. I held up a flash drive. This contains your little audio confession from your burner phone chat with Nicholas. Maybe next time don't talk so much. I dropped it in a champagne glass and left it on the edge of the buffet. Then I walked out. Not in a rush, not hiding, but strutting. Every step a nail in her porcelain perfect life. Outside, I slid into my car, removed my heels, and exhaled. That wedding cost over $100,000, and all it took was a 79-cent envelope to burn it to the ground. The fallout was exquisite. Fiona sent me a message. What the hell did you do? I replied, gave your mother what she gave me. Public humiliation without consent. Martin emailed Nicholas 3 days later. Said he was filing for divorce. Asked if I'd be willing to send the original audio files. I did. Isabel postponed her honeymoon. Vanessa deleted her social media and her gallery. Well, turns out donors and curators don't love a scandal. By the end of the month, she was removed from the board. Art World? Meet Karma. Back home, Nicholas sat across from me at the dinner table like a man who'd watched a tornado blow through his living room. You went to the wedding? He asked, stunned. I took a bite of my steak and chewed slowly. Wasn't invited, I said, but I figured I'd bring a gift. He was silent for a while. Then, in a voice half awe, half horror, he said, I can't decide if I'm terrified of you or deeply impressed. I smiled. Both would be wise. After the wedding incident, silence became my sanctuary. No more late night sleuthing. No more envelope stuffing or revenge planning. Just me, a glass of red wine, and a playlist called For Wrecking Cheaters' Lives. Vanessa disappeared like smoke. Her daughters had blocked her. Her ex-husband had sold their lake house and moved to Portugal, of all places. Her gallery had wiped her name from its roster and issued a quiet press release about a leadership restructure. She was radioactive, gloriously, poetically untouchable. But just when I thought she had learned her lesson, she tried one last stunt. It started with a knock. Not on my front door, on my LinkedIn inbox. Again, Vanessa's version of a white flag, I assumed. Her message read, You've made your point, but if you don't stop, I will take legal action. This is harassment. Oh, darling, this isn't harassment. This is closure my way. But I didn't reply. Instead, I went quiet for 3 weeks. Nothing on my socials. No comments on Nicholas's pages. Not even a cryptic Instagram story quote, though I had so many lined up. I wanted her nervous. I wanted her checking every dark corner of her life like I was hiding in the flower arrangement at a baby shower. Then, on a Tuesday just before noon, I struck again. I sent a velvet box to her workplace. Inside, a miniature diorama, a replica of the hotel suite she met Nicholas in. Tiny bed, tiny champagne bottle, even a tiny paper phone with one of the sexts printed in microscript. The note read, Thought you might enjoy a memory box. Some souvenirs stick harder than others. She didn't respond. But 3 days later, I received a cease and desist letter from her attorney. I posted it on Twitter with the caption, When the mistress who slept with your husband wants you to stop bothering her, your plot twist. The internet ate it up. Thousands of retweets. The comments section turned into a therapy group for the revenge squad. Even got an anonymous DM from a woman in Austin. Did you go to war with Vanessa Whitmore? She used to date my cousin's husband. You're a legend. That's when it hit me. I wasn't the only one she'd wrecked. I was just the first to burn her back. Meanwhile, Nicholas was on eggshells. He cooked dinner, rubbed my feet, bought me flowers, spoke to me like I was a sleeping volcano. And honestly, I was. You're still not letting this go, he said one night, his voice soft. No, Nicholas, I replied calmly. I'm letting it go now. But you don't get to dictate how I let it go. This wasn't a paper cut. It was an amputation. I'm just learning to walk again. He blinked, unsure whether to be afraid or impressed. Good. That meant the balance had shifted. A few months passed. The drama began to fade, publicly at least. But something inside me had changed permanently. I was no longer just Emilia Walker, loyal wife, doting mother, background character in someone else's story. I had become the main character. I didn't want to be married anymore. Not to someone who could smile in my face while lying to me on the phone with another woman. I didn't care how many massages or apologies Nicholas offered, so I told him. Over breakfast, calmly, clearly. I'm leaving. He dropped his fork like I'd slapped him. What? But everything's better now. No, Nicholas, you're better at pretending now. That's not the same thing. He begged, literally. Said he'd go to therapy again, that he'd quit his job, if that's what it took. I shook my head. It's not about punishing you anymore. It's about freeing myself. And that's exactly what I did. The next few weeks were surprisingly peaceful. I found a small apartment in the city, top floor, big windows, no memories of betrayal lingering in the walls. I bought plants, took solo weekend trips, started painting again. For the first time in years, I felt alive. Vanessa, from what I heard, had finally moved out of her studio apartment and was living with a cousin in Arizona. None of her daughters would speak to her. One of them even liked my tweet about the mini diorama. Poetic justice served cold and crispy, but the real glory, that came 6 months later. A small publisher reached out after seeing my viral thread, wanted to know if I'd be willing to write a memoir. I laughed. Who wants to read about an affair? Oh, the editor replied. Everyone, especially when the wife wins. And so I wrote it. Every affair detail, every revenge step, every lie uncovered, every scream in the middle of the night. But I didn't write it with bitterness. I wrote it with power. And I ended it with this line. She tried to steal my husband, but I took back my name, my dignity, and my pen. And trust me, one woman with a pen is more dangerous than 1,000 with a grudge. The book launched to wild attention. Book clubs, podcasts, even a feature in LA titled The Art of Elegant Revenge. I started getting messages from women across the world. Thank you for saying what we've all felt. You helped me leave a man who treated me like an option. I named my plant Vanessa, and now I yell at it when I need therapy. Healing in the strangest, most beautiful ways. One day, while signing books at an indie shop in Portland, a woman stepped up to the table, mid-50s, sharp eyes, slight tremble in her hand. It was Vanessa. I knew it instantly. She looked at me like a ghost she couldn't run from. I read your book, she whispered. I gave her a cool smile. That's lovely. Her mouth opened, then closed. She hesitated. I lost everything, she finally said. I didn't take anything you didn't offer willingly. I replied. A long pause. Then she said, "Do you feel better?" And I said, without a blink, "I feel free." She walked away, and that was the last time I ever saw her. Nicholas still texts every now and then, little breadcrumbs of regret. I don't reply. I'm too busy living a life full of peace, purpose, and poetry. So did I get revenge? Number, I got redemption. And that tastes better than any vendetta ever could.